wanted to introduce the evening as the rabbi of the synagogue, the Carlebach shul that we're gathered in tonight. We're very proud and honored to have the two guests that are going to be giving over their very interesting dialogue, and we're gonna have a formal introduction by John Taylor in a moment. But I just wanted to say that in Judaism there's something called Pesach Sheni. Pesach Sheni means the second Passover, and the idea of a second Passover is you get a second chance, and not that anybody needs a second chance, but in life there's every day. I just did a funeral for a family whose father suffered, the person who passed away suffered from severe depression and illnesses, and the family, despite all this, they did tremendously well in terms of the way the kids came out. And I just couldn't get over how amazing they did. And it's just, to me, sometimes you see how people who have major challenges are somehow able to overcome those challenges and actually excel and do beautifully. And today, actually, we have somebody who came from a background where he really had to break a lot of ceilings to be able to do the things that he did. You'll hear more about Rick Sanchez later, but somebody who you wouldn't have expected him to have gotten as far as he had gotten in life. And yet, he still felt there were obstacles in his way. And in a moment of maybe, we'll hear more about it later, he might have answered back a little more sharply than he anticipated. And I think we're here to talk about different ways of saying things and not to see it in the most simple way, but to see the complexities of a person, see the wholeness of the person. I'll just leave you with this one word. It's one of the Ten Commandments, and possibly the hardest, is it says, don't covet your neighbor's wife, house, car, or donkey, or whatever it is back then. But it's the same thing. And then it says, in everything that is to your friend. So one of the sages says a very insightful comment on the everything. He says that, why do people covet? Because they see something they like. And for that matter, why do people judge? Because they see something they don't like. The problem with that is they don't see the v'chol, the everythingness. They don't see the entirety of the person. In order to judge anybody, you have to judge them in their entirety. You can't just judge them by one statement. You have to see the context. You have to see the totality of it. And I believe we're here tonight to see the wholeness of another person. And Shmuley is such a good friend. When Shmuley asked me if he could have the evening here, I said, absolutely. Because anything that Shmuley does, no matter, I don't think this is a big controversy. I think, I don't think it is, but if some people think it is.
Well, thank God, clearly from the crowd, it's not a big controversy.
Well, I think it's, I think the message will go beyond the people that are in this room. Clearly, we know that will happen, but I think the idea is b'chol asher l'recha. We have to see the entirety of somebody, and it's important to give both Shmuley and Rick, because even Shmuley is sometimes kind of cut down by people in the Jewish community who want to fit him into some box and judge him because he doesn't want to fit in with what they want to say. He wants to say something that they don't all accept, or say anything at all. And
well, although I am short enough to fit into any box, which is a good thing.
But and again, the same thing with Shmuley. I see Shmuley is much more whole than the parts that people want to put him into, and I think it's important that we do that. That this synagogue is open to see the wholeness in people, and. So one of the people that's doing great work, Jon Taylor, who's working together to do these things, and one of the things he's spearheading is Turn Friday Night into Family Night, is going to introduce tonight's discussion.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much, Rabbi Citron. This is not going to be such a formal introduction. We're going to keep this quick and get into this conversation. But this event is brought to you by This World, the Values Network, where I work and work on our major initiative called Turn Friday Night into Family Night. And the two folks in front of you tonight, I have some prepared remarks, but essentially these are good people. The rabbi is a known author and has had TV shows and radio shows, and is a rabbi with his synagogue in Englewood. Rick Sanchez has been on the news for 25 years, and MSNBC and CNN, and has won wonderful awards. But these are family guys. Between them, there's 13 kids. Half this audience was probably Shmuley's kids in here. So let's just have a great conversation. And there's going to be some Q&A time. So be prepared to take part in this conversation as well. And also, we have a smaller crowd. Feel free to move up. Let's make this an intimate happening evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, John. It's very nice.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all very much for being here on a cold winter night. I love the Carlebach Synagogue. It is not necessarily Manhattan's largest or most elaborate, but it is its most spiritual. I come here fairly frequently, although I live in Englewood, New Jersey, to sing with my children. This is the musical synagogue, and it's world famous for its soaring spiritual melodies. 10 years ago, I brought Michael Jackson to the synagogue, unannounced. We just came on a very important Jewish holiday called Shmini Atzeres, the night before the happiest day of the year. And in my book, The Michael Jackson Tapes, he actually says that it was the happiest day of his life. And I challenged him. I said, it can't be. It was the happiest night. He said, no, it really was. It was the happiest night of my life. I felt at home. I felt at peace. That's what this synagogue can really do. And when I met Rick and wanted to have this dialogue, I wanted to have it here because I wanted it to be more of a spiritual conversation. Ladies and gentlemen, our country is becoming more and more divided. And people are becoming more and more divisive. It seems that everything that happens offends us in some way, almost like we sit around waiting to be offended. Now, there is hatred, and there is bigotry, and there is prejudice. What I reject, however, is where we seek to almost manufacture it. Sometimes we say things that may be misunderstood, and if they are, then a person has a right to explain him or herself. And that's partially what this evening is about. I wouldn't say it's principally what this evening is about. We are a values-based organization, and we like talking about values. But each of us has to be an exponent of some form of goodness. We all want to be a blessing to others. When you are character assassinated, you are robbed of that opportunity. You can no longer be a blessing because people see you in some nefarious light. If you deserve it, you deserve it. But if you don't, you have a right to set the record straight. In my career, if we can call it that, although I'd like to believe that rabbis have more of a calling than a career, I've had friends who've been accused of anti-Semitism. My publisher, Judith Regan, who up until a few years ago was the most successful publisher in America, she published 4 of my books, all available as you leave this beautiful synagogue. She was fired from her job and accused of anti-Semitism. Allegedly, there was some remark she made to a lawyer. Now, I clashed with Judith mightily in the many years we published things together. She was known as the toughest person in publishing. She could be difficult, but she was not an anti-Semite. In fact, all the books that I wrote for her, The Broken American Male, Why Can't I Fall in Love, 10 Conversations You Need to Have with Your Children, which was launched on the Oprah Winfrey Show, she would always come back to me and say to me, there's not enough Jewish content in these books. What are you, afraid to be a rabbi? Don't think you're going to marginalize yourself. You're an exponent for Jewish values. And the next day, I put out a press release saying, I've known this woman for a decade. She is my publisher. This is an absurd charge, because it was a lie. Conversely, and Judith remains a very dear friend till today. In fact, we get along a lot better now that we're not working together. And she's a regular at our Friday Night Shabbos table, and I was just on her Sirius XM radio show on Thanksgiving. Conversely, I was one of the voices most stridently opposed to Mel Gibson when he made The Passion of the Christ. It is no exaggeration to say that over about a 3 or 4 month period, I did MSNBC, Scarborough Country, which used to be on at night. Now he's doing morning show in the morning. It is no exaggeration to say I was probably on 30 times in the 3 month period. They kept on bringing me back as the movie just kept on. And I would not let up. I said, I'm sorry. I always defend people who are falsely accused of bigotry. And we trivialize racism, bigotry, anti-Semitism when we make it a cavalier, throwaway accusation that is not sustained by fact. But this man is an anti-Semite. I know the history